Good evening and welcome to this virtual opening with our sculptors on the lawn. I want to say that you can ask questions in the chat at any time. We do have our sculptors that will be coming on. We'll go from one sculptor to another. And probably the best view is the layout mode up on your right corner there. There's the grid mode. Stage focus. The grid mode is the one where you'll be able to see right now as I start talking about this 6th annual Sculpture on the Lawn, a little time exposure of how they were installed. Basically, each year now for 6 years, we have put out a call for large sculptures. We have a rental fee that helps our artists get their sculpture to us. And we have put in 4 12-foot by 12-foot cement slabs. And so theoretically on one day of the year, the current sculptures go out and the new sculptures come in. This year, the installation took place over several months, and we'll hear a little bit about some of that as we go on. But we're just delighted that we get a chance to offer to the public 4 large sculptures that change each year. And I said this is our 6th year. We actually have had, and you can see in the lower right corner there, a 5th sculpture you could, celebrating Dorothy Gillespie, a sculptor who lived and worked some in Orange County, and her 100th anniversary of her birth. She's passed away, was this past year. And so we've had a piece of hers from her Rockefeller Center collection. And that one continues this year. But we're not going to talk more about that. First of all, we're going to look at our first sculpture. So let me show you a little video of the sculpture itself. We'll start from this fun view of Got Juice, but it's not really the whole. What you want to see is all of this. A hand with an orange in it, which of course a lot of people are loving because it's Orange County. And it's a hand on 2 legs with little nubby toes and some color inside. I'll tell you, this sculpture has had quite a history of getting here. Our sculptor lives in Colorado, and so when he was to bring it here for the install of all of our sculptures, he couldn't because he was in the hospital. He had COVID. He did survive, got well, and eventually started out again with this in a trailer and got a phone call. He had to return because of wildfires. He had to evacuate his house. Thankfully, unlike many of his neighbors, it survived, and eventually he was able to bring it here. When it got here, the orange fell off. The substrate and the surface separated partly because of the change in altitude from Colorado to sea level here at Florida and the bouncing around perhaps in the trailer on the way here. But it's all fixed now. It's here for you to enjoy. Got Juice. And we are going to bring Stephen Landis in now, and he'll be starting his video there. So I can talk to the artist, Stephen T. Landis from Loveland, Colorado.
Okay, I'm clicking on.
There you are.
All right.
Welcome. So we're delighted to have your Got Juice sculpture. I'm curious, what was your inspiration for that?
Well, originally it's kind of an offshoot of a call for artists a few years ago in Portland for their stadium, their soccer stadium, and they wanted a large sculpture in front. And so the original sculpture looked just like this one, only the fingers were together and it was holding a pair of tickets. It was called Tickets, Please. And it wasn't picked, and so it sat around. And then when I saw this call for Orange County, I thought, wow, I'll playfully make this into the hand holding an orange, and that's how it got there.
Well, it's very fun, and the contrast between the orange and the bronze color on the rest of the sculpture is great. It really stands out there. And I hope I told the story correctly about some of the issues and getting it here.
Yeah, the trials and tribulations. Dawn was wondering whether it was ever going to happen, and finally it did. And I really appreciate the Orange County Art and Cultural Affairs Committee for putting up with me and choosing me, because it's quite an honor. And I'm happy to be there, and I'm glad it got there in two pieces.
Well, we're glad it's here, and we're delighted that you got to come and see it installed. Any thoughts about where it's situated or anything? Did it work for you?
Yeah, no, it looks beautiful, and especially at night, some of the photos that Dawn sent me, particularly nice. I love the setting. I love the way it looks day and night, and I'm real happy with it.
Great. And he's referring to Don Knight,
Yes.
public art assistant. And these, if I didn't mention before, these sculptures are at the Orange County Administration Center at the corner of Rosalind and Church Street, Rosalind and Jackson in downtown Orlando. So great. Well, one comment, so clever, love it. And we will come back and have all of our sculptors on, but now we'll go to our next sculpture.
All right.
Next we have I Went to Sea, but that sea, S-E-E, might also be S-E-A, because what we have is a sculpture of a boat, a person in a boat, and that boat is higher than I am, and the oars are holding it up. So it is from the fish's perspective, a little different perspective on this. And the formation of the figure in the boat is formed on the spot with steel rods, so it's not on a substructure. It's a very physical way of creating a sculpture, and he's used copper for the hands, so they have a little different patina on them. And it says, I went to sea right here. Do you feel like a fish? I went to sea. And we have our sculptor, Aaron Alderman, with us from Brevard, North Carolina. And as Aaron gets his video going, we'll be able to talk with him. Welcome, Aaron.
Hey.
So, thanks for being here. Let me ask you, what's your inspiration for I Went to Sea?
It really started with a simple drawing. It just started with a sketch of a figure in a boat. I've been playing around this idea of isolation, and I think a boat's a great way to isolate someone, especially when you're alone in a boat. And then jacking that up and putting the perspective of the viewer in the water was, kind of an interesting idea, but it was really about, isolation and introspection, and that's kind of where that imagery came from and went towards.
So is it the person in the boat that's going to see something, or is it the fishies coming up to see what that thing is on the water above them?
I like the idea of the figure going somewhere to see something, heading out to find something out. The idea of putting the perspective of like the viewer giving that fisheye view, adds a sort of, comedy to the piece and maybe a little bit of unease of putting someone underwater in a sense to, look up at this boat. But it's definitely about the figure going on this journey. Is not in control. He's facing the wrong way in the boat. He's, not rowing the boat. So either the boat is leading him or her, whatever the figure is, or the current is taking them wherever they want to go. So that's sort of what, that's kind of what I'm playing with.
And this, the way you created the man seems to be a very physical way of shaping that. Can you say something about that? Is that a technique you like to use?
That's primarily what I use with my work. I work with that round stock steel, and it's heating and bending the steel and tacking it, and heating and bending and tacking, heating and bending and tacking back to back, on and on. There's no substructure, so that skin that you see is the actual structure of the piece. That's primarily what I do. All my work tends to be very figurative. The figures are great. It's very expressive. It's just a great way to relate to, and it has a very emotive and visceral quality to it. But that technique is I've been developing that piece for about 15 years now, and still playing with it and trying to see what I can do with it, and see what expression I can get out of it.
Have you had other work exhibited here in Orlando?
Not in Orlando. I've had some work kind of all across the country and overseas, but this is my first time in Orlando. So I definitely want to give a shout out and say thank you to everyone who's been involved. It's been a fun experience, and this is definitely a new experience in the year of COVID. So thanks for having me.
Well, one comment is we can all relate to feeling like we don't know which way we are heading in the lifeboat, especially in 2020, 21. But love the whimsy. Fish perspective is great. So thank you, and we'll bring you back again after we look at the other sculptures. And we'll look at our third one now. This is Gaia, coming from Mother Earth, and it is created by Donald Gianella, who has had 3 years of having a sculpture here out of our 6. So we love Donald and his sculptures, which are a collection of found objects. He tries to be very green, and his studio is full of pieces of metal and driftwood and exploded R2-D2s, and he uses that to create these. So in this one, he has made the structure of the head kind of a bird's nest kind of way of weaving pieces of metal, and as you saw, the face is various bowls and pieces of metal as well. Gaia, Mother. And we are welcoming Donald Gianella from St. Petersburg, Florida. Welcome to your 3rd Sculpture on the Lawn, Donald.
Thank you, Terry.
It's been fun. What have been the other 2 sculptures of yours that we've had in different years?
Well, let me just say it's been an honor being included in such a prestigious program for so many years. I'm really very grateful. The other pieces I had in were a large sparrow, which was called Dream Sparrow. That was that the first year? I actually forgot.
I think so.
And then there was Dumpster Diver, which was an assemblage piece of basically trash and plastic over a wooden armature that was suspended on a very long 12 or 15 foot looping rod base, which towered over stunned viewers as though she was diving into an imaginary pool of water.
Yes, and that was just removed when we put Gaia in.
Yes, and this piece was inspired by a childhood fascination that I had when I saw the first newsreels of Gutzon Borglum carving Mount Rushmore. And the giant faces, you know, to translate a human face into an artistic form in such a large scale was always something that I aspired towards. And that's what I was inspired by creating this piece.
Great. Well, one of our local sculptors says, I love the elegance brought to found objects. And another person says, spectacular expression. So, and this one you've created so you can walk inside of it, right? I mean, I did, and there's a very big opening in the back.
Yeah, I thought it was, you know, I always try to include an element of interactivity with my public sculpture. And I like the idea that a viewer could walk inside of the sculpture and see it from a different perspective and be inside of her mind, so to speak, in an abstract way. Another interesting thing about this piece is usually when you work on a large piece, you scale up a maquette or an artist model, and it becomes more of a fabrication technique rather than a spontaneous creative endeavor like a smaller piece of sculpture would, like a painting adding pieces here and there. But I created Gaia like a small piece. She wasn't planned out any more than the rough scale. And then I added the pieces individually like a painting, so to speak.
Nice. And I should say for our audience and Donald as well, that the process that our Public Art Review Board uses in choosing the sculptors starts with a blind review. So we don't know who the sculptors are. We're just looking for pieces that we think that the Public Art Review Board thinks would be great there. So we love it that, Donald, you're not far away, just over on the coast in St. Petersburg, and that you have been our most prolific choice.
Well, that's very nice to hear. I like the idea of the blind panelists because, you know, I'm not married to a specific sculptural style. And it's good to know that as my pieces evolve, that the juries react positively towards them.
Yep. Well, we appreciate it. And we know you've been over here several times. And I don't know if you've seen any changes in the city since you've been coming to put different sculptures in.
Oh, well, actually, I got a very nice commission last year in Orlando for the new fire station number 9. And that piece is an assemblage orb, the largest one I've ever made at 6 feet in diameter. And that's going to be going in very soon in the next few weeks.
That's for the city of Orlando.
Yes.
Great.
New fire station.
Well, we will look forward to that. Super. Well,
thank you.
Let us take a look now at our last sculpture and see what that one's about. Unity, that's the name of this piece. A great thing to strive for. And here we have this sculpture representing male and female energy coming together to form unity. And this sculpture came all the way from the Ukraine. So it has had a journey getting here as well. An interesting composition created through these various rods put together to create the structures that he was aiming for, and then leveled off to do some shaping again near the head. So one interesting background to the unity of the sculpting of this is that it's created by 2 men, that are twin brothers. So there's an interesting perspective on unity when you have that. But they are interested in exploring all kinds of unity in this world that is so divided today. So we're glad to have a little unity here at Orange County. And this is Unity, sent to us all the way from the Ukraine. We don't have our sculptors, Igor and Nikita Zagura from Kiev, Ukraine, coming on, but we did record a few questions with them, and we'll see a bit of that now. I think the first question that we asked was, as twin brothers working on this, how do you feel about that? How does it work to work together as a collaboration?
Років 13, працюючи над однією з скульптурних композицій. Я тоді навчався, ми тоді разом з братом навчалися художник. І тому для мене іншого вибору не стояло. І тому я пішов шляхом, що і проходили наші батьки. І для мене це і було.
Why do you share credits on this sculpture?
Для того, щоб створити якусь велику скульптуру, доєднується і ще наша велика команда. І ми якби всі разом акумулюємо цю творчу енергію в проект. Ми подали заявку і виграли конкурс, і близько року великою командою робили цю скульптуру.
Have you been to the United States before?
Так, ми приймали участь у декількох виставках, арт-ярмарках та аукціонах в Америці, в таких містах, як Нью-Йорк, Чикаго і Майамі. Але більше подорожували Америкою наші скульптури 22-го року. І сподіваємося, звісно, що кордони відкриються і ми зможемо відвідати ці чудові арт-події. Цього року ми плануємо прийняти участь у декількох дуже цікавих проєктах по скульптурі, у скульптурних парках в Австралії.
I guess the first question I asked there was, how did you get into being a sculptor? But this was also an interesting first time that we have received a sculpture from international outside the country, and we weren't necessarily prepared for the customs issues that we would face with that, especially during the middle of a pandemic. But all 4 sculptors are now on the lawn at the Orange County Administration Center, 201 South Orange, 201 South Roslyn, and I encourage you to go down and see them both during the day and at night. They are lit at night, and that really makes that corner come alive, especially if you're like going to the Dr. Phillips Center, walking by there, check it out. So why don't we bring all the sculptors that we have on, if we can, and they'll turn their videos on. We've got Donald, and here comes Stephen. And there's Aaron. So once they click on their videos, we'll be able to see them. And if anyone has a question that they want to put in the chat box, we'd love to ask that question. There's a comment, wonderful additions to the city. Thanks so much for making Orlando new again. So that change of sculptures exhibition each year brings something new to our community, so we appreciate that. Stephen, we can't see you yet, but do any of you sculptors have anything else you'd like to say or ask to one of the other sculptors or us? This is just a time to chat.
Aaron, did you do the boat with the fish, with the guy rowing the boat?
Yes, I did.
Is that core 10?
No, it's not. It's just mild steel.
Do you treat it in some way to discourage excessive oxidation? Because I've had a problem with that in the past.
Yeah, I use Penetrol, which is actually an additive to oil paint.
Yeah.
It works pretty well. Penetrol does throw to degrade, and you have to, if you want to keep it clean, apply it every few years. But it works pretty well.
I see. Okay.
I think Stephen is having some trouble finding the video button at the bottom of his screen, but he's still there. Although he's muted, and I think we can turn it off. There we go. Stephen, are you there?
I'm there. I'm here. I'm clicking, but a small screen comes up that says camera settings and change virtual background. I'm confused.
All right. Well, that's okay. We saw you earlier.
I'm clicking on it. There we go.
There you go. Thanks.
Yeah.
Do you have any other comments or questions or things you would like to say?
No, I'm just real happy that the sculpture was included, and there's an interior support system inside that piece, which structurally makes it kind of indestructible. So when we had to transport it, we had to cut it there at the top of the legs, and where the hand joins the legs, and because it was over 10 foot tall, and that presented a problem when we got to Orlando to put it together.
Yeah. What is there a significance of the kind of orange tint inside the legs? Is that like cutting into an orange? It's orange inside?
Yeah, that was kind of the thought behind that. I actually was trying to combine kind of a realism with a whimsical, cheerful, playful kind of a sculpture. And if you read the mock-up there on the sign on the sculpture, the Katzenjammer Kids, a lot of people probably don't remember them, but they were comic characters back in the 40s and 50s. And that always, I remember as a child seeing the cartoons, comic books, and just kind of came together with the realism, combining both.
Well, I think it's very interesting in this exhibition that all four sculptures have some human features, but in very different ways. With yours with the feet, Donald's with a head, Aaron's with a complete figure, as well as Zagura's male and female figures, but in very different expressions. None of them totally realistic, but of different kind of things. So I find that interesting, as well as we have two dark bronze steel colored ones and two silver stainless steel kind of colored ones. So it is interesting how these exhibitions come together, because I think when the Public Art Review Board is choosing them, they're not necessarily thinking of how they go together, but it's amazing how they do. So that's been a fun thing. And how did you all hear about this call for artists? We are putting it out for next year. Actually, tomorrow, I think it goes out on the Call for Entry Cafe system. Is that how you all heard about it, or through an email from me, or how did that work?
I saw it on the Call for Entry. That's the cafe Call for Entry.
You too,
Me
Aaron?
as well.
Yes, me too.
A question for Stephen. Did you paint the orange on the legs once you added the orange for this show?
Yes. The actual, the color in the legs there is a copper color, a metallic paint. And then the actual orange is obviously orange paint.
Very orange, yes.
Yeah. We wanted to have a contrast there.
Yes. And do you all have experience with other sculpture loan programs like ours? Any comparisons? Anything we can learn from any other experiences that you've had?
Well, I would say I've been involved in several loan programs over the years, and yours is the gold standard. Really, the way you have that gentleman, I forget his name, who helps set up the sculptures. He's terrific. It's a very easy process, very artist friendly. And I think other loan programs could learn a lot from yours, actually.
Thanks. I wasn't necessarily fishing for compliments, but I'll take
Well,
it. It's great.
No, it's true, really. I've been involved in, I would say, over a half dozen programs, and some of them make it more difficult than it has to be. And I appreciate yours because it's, like I said, very artist friendly and very accessible to an artist.
Yeah, I would second that. And Jacob, I think, is who you're talking about, the fellow that
Yes,
helps
that's
us.
his name. Yes, thank you.
And he's a real help. He was a real help.
Yeah, he's terrific.
Well, I was delighted that we had this big lawn. It's kind of set aside for another building eventually, but I'm not sure that's ever going to happen. So there's this big lawn. It's like, why don't we, it came from my public art review board that said, why don't we put sculptures out there? And how do we do that? And so the first couple of years, we raised funds privately to pay our fee, our rental fee. And we looked around the state at all the fees and we said, let's be the highest because we're the best of any of those kind of programs. But then Orange County saw the value of it and they now supply the budget for that. So I'm very appreciative of that. Well, we appreciate you coming on. If no one has any other questions, I believe this is recorded and folks that don't get to see it right now can take a look at this. And again, I want to encourage anyone watching to go down to the Orange County Administration outdoors where it's COVID safe. You can keep distant from people and take a look at these sculptures. You can get right up close to them if you want to. And then also step back and look at all four of them as a whole and see what that says to you. So thank you, everyone. Thank you, Donald. Thank you, Stephen. Thank you, Aaron. And thanks to Igor and Nikita, who might be listening on, although it's 4 o'clock in the morning their time, I think. I think I may have seen them as an attendee. And thank you, everyone who is watching now. See you, everyone. Bye.
Thank you, Terry.
Yep.